Alright, so what you guys are going to look at now is we're sort of going to look at the fall of the Roman Empire and how that took us into what brings into the Dark Ages, which is right before the Middle Ages. Something that you guys don't normally have time to see. So we're going to start off with the Byzantine Empire, which lasted from 400 to 1300 AD. And the essential question for all this is, how did the Byzantine Empire preserve Roman culture? And we hope that one of your goals is that you are able to explain how the Byzantine Empire preserved part of the Roman culture and ideas, and how this is brought forth into what we see today. So we're going to review it, and as you guys can see, the Roman Empire was divided into two parts. The West was Latin, Old, Weak, left to decline, and this is where you typically see this little line right here, because it was all through this, where the purple is. It's easy for you guys to see it. The East is going to be Greek, New, wealthier, because this is where a lot of the money was at this time. This is where the trading was. The Germans invaded and started destroying Rome in the West, and the East continued on as the Byzantine Empire. The Byzantine Empire was comprised of Asia Minor and the Balkans. The capital is a key city called Constantinople. This is New Rome, and this is named after Constantine. If you remember him, he's the guy who made Christianity legal. It is the center of trade between the Europe and the East. And that time period, it was the largest city in Europe. It was in what we might call modern-day Turkey. You are going to have a mixture of Christian and Greek heritage, and this brings about the Eastern Orthodox religion. Justinian at the time period was the most famous emperor, and he claimed to be emperor of both the East and the West. Although those two weren't really controlled together, they weren't really together, he still wanted to make himself feel that way because he felt like he'd have more power. There is where you're going to see everything that goes on, and for those of you who really like key parts, there's the Hagia Sophia. There is a picture of Justinian and his wife Theodora. And the rule of Justinian, during this time period, he was a nephew of Constantine, so of course you still have that royal bloodline. You got to keep it in the family. He tries to keep everything, reunite everything together, but he's going to lose to those Germanic tribes. As you guys will always see throughout history, Germany has very strong warriors. They have a lot of natural resources, a lot of power. He was going to be successful for a little bit, but eventually he's just not going to do so well. Emperor had absolute power. This is where you're heads of both the church and the state. So one of the big reasons we like to look at Justinian is he created a single uniform code of law for New Rome. And there you're going to see East and, I'll go back, there's East and West for this time period. Justinian Code wanted to preserve the Roman laws, and it regulated all aspects of life. So this is one of those big law codes. And we all know how everybody likes law codes. So this is one of those big ones that they need to know about. Regulated marriage, slavery, property, inheritance, women's rights, and crimes. There's four main parts. It was a code of 5,000 Roman laws. Digest, which summarizes thinking and opinions of Rome's greatest legal minds, which is sort of, a historical aspect there too. The Institute, which actually told you how these laws worked, which is somewhat nice considering if you guys ever look at the laws. And a Novelle, which comprises the new laws which were passed, so people were they were aware of the new laws so they didn't get caught off guard. There is actually a copy of what the Justinian Code looked like, so you can actually see it for yourselves. The Byzantine culture, people consider themselves Romans, but they spoke Greek. It's all that huge mixture of what you got going on right there. They're going to try to continue everything. Education is still highly valued. And of course, missionaries, missionaries want to try to spread Christianity because that's what missionaries do for Christianity. They try to spread it out. So they're going to try to spread it out to Eastern Europe, and they're going to try to spell it, spread it out to people in Russia. The Cyrillic alphabet is where we started writing everything so people could allow it to read in their native language. Achievements of Justinian had a lot of baths, building products, schools. Schools are always good. Hospitals, churches, and the Hagia Sophia, which is this huge church right here that you might see. Use of mosaics in church and art was to inspire belief, not intimidate life. So you didn't want to necessarily always copy down exactly what it was like, but you might want to use it to inspire you to have a better time period. The decline of it is always street riots, religious quarrels, palace. Everybody's going to sit there. They're going to get attacked from everybody. Of Christian crusades from Europe, which are really neat. You're going to have the Ottomans and the Turks come in. It's going to be a really interesting time period with the crusades. The East and the West, the churches, the popes are going to split. So you're going to see what you're going to call the Great Schism between the Catholic Church, where there's two different popes. And so what ends up happening because of the result of that is a permanent division of the Catholic Church. The Catholic churches that came about because of that is the Roman Catholic Church that you guys might see today. Some of you guys might have ever been to St. Aloysius, which is an example of Roman Catholic Church. And Eastern Orthodox, which is what you might find in Russia, is the other aspect of what the church is. Roman Catholic, you can see, is in Latin. Pope has all authority, and the Pope claims authority over all kings and emperors. There's papal supremacy, which basically says he has the power, he's going to keep the power, and don't take the power away from him. Priests may not marry. No, they didn't marry, but they did stuff they shouldn't have to. And of course, divorce is not permitted. This is not a big deal. And back in this time period, it was not okay to get a divorce. The Eastern Orthodox Church, which, as it says, what you might want to primarily see in Russia nowadays, is in Greek or local languages, which makes it easier to understand. The Patriarch, which is the leading bishop, and other bishops head the church as a group. Emperor claims authority over all, but your priest may marry, which is a big kicker right there. That might help him out. And just in case you get really bad, you may have a divorce under certain conditions. So at the end of all this, we wanted to explain how the Byzantine Empire preserved Roman culture and ideas. You're going to see it with mainly churches. You still have Christianity. Christianity is a huge aspect. From architecture, you see architecture on a daily basis, which was influenced by Rome. Colosseum, which is your gladiatorial fights, you're going to see this somewhat get composed into, some people might look into the chivalry, where you go to some of your events. Legal systems, laws of the 12 tables. Legal systems are key throughout history. There are some big ones, and you guys have been over all of them. Architecture, the Hagia Sophia, and public baths. Baths are always good. We all know that, even if you haven't taken one in a while. You should. The Hippodrome, gladiator fights, and chariot races. Chariot races are really awesome. You should watch them. And the Justinian Code preserved the Roman laws for what you guys might see today. So we have a preservation of Roman society and their beliefs still set forth from today. Thank you, guys. See you on the next one.